Um, in junior high, I had a really deep emo phase. We all did, right? But like, I listened to a lot of My Chemical Romance, read a lot of John Green books, right? And one of those John Green books was Will Grayson, Will Grayson. And a GSA is featured in that book. So I'd already read this book when a friend of mine approached me and said, "Do you want to start a GSA at our school?" And I was like, "I know what that is. I'm on it," right? So we did. We started this GSA, and it was this really awesome experience. And the year ended with our town's first ever Pride Festival. We had Davis Pride that year, and we showed up in our booth. And for me, that really solidified my investment in the community, in the wider community also, just all of Davis, seeing everyone show up and show their pride and see the role that high school students, that youth had to play in this was really empowering for me. So when I got to the high school, I really sought out greater sort of opportunities for me, and I eventually became the president of my school's GSA so that we could do activities like what we did today. I'm repping my GSA shirt. This is a rainbow GSA. So right now, one of the projects that we're working on is collaborating with one of the junior high health teachers, because they cover some like basic gender and sexuality stuff in their health classes. And so one of the teachers wanted us to help collaborate with this thing called a privilege walk. So the way it works is everyone receives a card. All the students in the class get a card that has some sort of identity on it. And they read a little bit about what that identity means. And then they all go outside to some grass, and they respond to a series of questions with their feet. Questions like, take a step forward if you feel comfortable using restrooms at school. Certain people take steps forward based on the identities they've been assigned. Do you think your family understands and respects your identity? More people take steps forward until by the end of this, you've stratified this whole population of people, and the ones who have received the most privileged identities are forced to turn around and see how far ahead of the pack they have become. So this is this project we're working on right now, and what really struck me about this project is the language. These terms that so few people are often familiar with because they come out of Tumblr, right? We have these terms coming out of social media, and tons of people start identifying with them, and then they begin spreading. But because they come out of these online communities, there's this sort of perpetual struggle to legitimize them to older populations. And so engaging in that work of spreading this terminology and spreading that understanding has really turned my attention to language and the important role that language plays. And it's really raised my attention to the role that language plays, because for all this empowering work that's happening with new language, there's also slurs, right? As negative language you can think of, and you were still hearing them. We're still hearing heterosexist, cis-sexist slurs in the hallways, in the classrooms, all the time, right? And when you're talking about slurs and you're also talking about language empowerment, you've got to talk about the word queer and the entire debate that surrounds the word queer and language affirmation, right? And reacclamation. That's really important to me also, and that's been really interesting. You got to talk about names. You got to talk about the way that trans people really extricate themselves from their dead names and take on new names to express themselves and find that new identity. And we need to talk about pronouns, right? Really simple grammatical functions that people have such a hard time understanding. They're not that difficult, all right? My pronouns are he, him, his. Hello, okay. And we got to talk about basic language barriers, right? I remember very vividly hearing one person describe her struggle expressing her identity as bisexual to her parents who only spoke Chinese, right? Coming out is hard enough as it is, but she had to make up words in her language in order to express her identity, right? So really, my involvement in the LGBT community has been a catalyst for me. It's helped me realize my interest in studying language. So next year, I hope to pursue an interest in critical linguistics, in sociolinguistics, exploring the relationship between societal power structures and language, the way they influence that language, but also the ways that language solidifies those power structures. And that's really where the scholarship comes into play for me. It is so meaningful that this scholarship is helping me pursue my passion for this type of education, and I've gotten to witness firsthand the way it impacts people, because I connected with someone who received this scholarship last year when I visited Brown, and I could see how much this scholarship meant to them, and I understood why it meant so much to me. I could see how it empowered them to pursue their education, and I can see how it's going to do the exact same for me. So I'm just so grateful to have received this, and of course grateful to my family back there for their constant support. No way I could be here without them, so thank you all so much.